It's like our own little Wayne's World. That's what I said at the beginning when we started doing it. I was like, fuck it, man. He's Wayne, I'm Garth. Right, you know what I mean?
You make good Garth.
Right?
I can
know,
see
if
that.
I had the wig on, I reckon I could pull it off.
Grow that hair out a little bit.
Yeah, it's too curly. I'd have to get my wife straightened.
Yeah. Party on, Wayne.
Fuck you, man. Another episode of Music Matters Podcast, live at Bass Coast 2022, and we're stoked to have on the show Rumpus. Welcome, bro.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for coming on, mate. So we'll just kick off.
Yeah, what got you into your musical journey?
Yeah, where'd you start?
Where'd you start?
From?
Yeah, musical journey.
Yeah, man, your background, when you first get in electronic, what maybe influences, era, age, tell us everything, man.
All right. Well, how far back we
could be here for a while, right?
Oh, yeah, we could. We can go back. I started drumming actually when I was 12 years old.
Okay, cool.
And so I grew up playing the drums, and my mom was.
What sort of style of music? Just.
Yeah, my mom was like making everyone go in instrument lessons, and I was like, pick one to try. I'm like, I'll try drums, and it was okay, but I was at home and she's like, you gotta go practice and this, and I wasn't doing anything with it, so it was not very fun. Yeah. And then I wasn't enjoying it.
Did you have the full kit at home?
Like, I had a kit, which is crazy because like thinking back now, we have electric kits, you can put headphones on, kids can bang around. But to think that my mom would actually tell me, go downstairs and it was like horrible, right?
Yeah.
And just smashing on these drums while she's upstairs cooking dinner and stuff for the family, and thinking that she put up with that. To think back on that now, how annoying that must have been.
Trust me, like I know exactly what you're saying, because my neighbour, their two sons got into bands when they were younger. One drummer, one guitar. I listened to White Stripes, dang, 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 for I don't know how long, man. But they had the full drum kit right there.
Yeah.
Right? And I went
in the garage or what?
No, the basement of the house. PC box, right in Langley, right? And my deck's out there, and finally I put up with it because I like music. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. It's kids. It's cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. And then it just got to a point where it was like, hey, I'd be out there at like 2:30, 3 in the afternoon, and they weren't playing a tune, just. And I went round. I was like, hey, man, like I'm kind of getting done with this. How about this? I'll go down Long and McQuaid right now. I've got an account there. I'll go halves with you on an electronic set and a set of headphones. And then he can just fucking do whatever he wants, man, all day long, every day. And then just give me a shout when he wants to play it, because I don't mind.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, okay, yeah. And they did. They went. And
really? They took you up on it?
Yeah, they did. I could still hear the
the clicking.
I was okay with that.
The clicks, yeah. They're just mildly annoying compared to an actual drum set.
To say to your kid, like, yeah, here you go, have one of the most noisiest instruments in the world.
Yeah.
And have at it in the house while I'm trying to watch TV.
And it was one thing if I was good at what I was, like I could play a good beat, but I was just smashing.
Just smash the shit out
drums and cymbals, like without any sort of rhythm or anything, trying to figure it out.
Did you ever figure it out?
I think I figured it out eventually. Like
coordination. I've had to go a couple of times, and I'll get going, right, 1 foot, and I might be okay there, and then and all of a sudden everything just starts doing the same fucking thing, man.
Yeah, I can't do it, man.
It's mad.
Yeah, put that in front of people. Yeah. Sorry. You're fine.
Sorry, Brad.
It's all good, man.
Apologies, mate.
Yeah, so basically I was doing that, and then I just kind of lost a little bit of interest. I got into high school, and I was chatting with a guy I met in class, and we were talking about music, and I said, yeah, I kind of play the drums. He's like, oh, I play guitar. And I was like, oh, that's cool. What's your favorite band? He's like, Rage Against the Machine. And I go, my favorite band's Rage Against the Machine. What are you doing after school today?
Yeah.
You want to come over and play Rage Against the Machine covers?
Yeah.
And he came over, and we just like instantly, it became like so much fun, playing your instrument, because now you're making music. You're not just smashing around on a set of drums. And we started playing Rage covers. Next thing you know, we were writing our own stuff. We had a band, and I mean, I can just fast forward through all that, but it evolved, and I got into punk rock, and I was in like punk rock bands for, I don't know, 6-7 years.
Nice.
Toured around doing that a little bit.
Cool.
We played on like Warped Tour and stuff. And
sweet, man.
So yeah, all my backgrounds in music,
man.
but comes from punk rock.
Warp was huge. Like Warp tours. Oh my gosh, mate, that's awesome. And again, so what was the transition from the punk into electronic? Like,
We had some big opportunities come our way with the band, and we got put on a big 3-month Europe tour and some really big festivals, and we were playing, main stage of some large festivals with some of all the best, like Taking Back Sunday, Brand New, like all the best bands at the time. And we had some really big opportunities that our label brought to us. And a couple of the guys in the band said they got cold feet, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to quit my job. The one guy's like, I kind of want to finish school. I don't know if this is the route I want to go. And it just basically derailed the entire tour and opportunity. And it's been something we've been working towards for a long time.
Yeah. And
there were some other things that happened, and basically, long story short, the band fell apart. I was kind of walked away. Myself and my guitarist walked away, a little jaded. Just we were like bummed out about it. We had we worked so hard to get to this point, and then we get the opportunity, and now the opportunity's gone, and I don't know when we'll get it again.
Yeah.
And so I just the band at that point we lost interest, sort of fizzled out, and I just was not super interested in music at that point. I was still into it, but just didn't really want to go through all dealing with the band, going to practice and organizing stuff and all that. And just be it someone else's
inputs and
basically you can only do what someone else is willing to do with you, right?
For sure.
So I took a break from music for a while, and then I started. I was always into electronic a little bit on the side. So, I was like Daft Punk, Chemical Brothers, Prodigy. I was always, we'd be touring the band. We'd listen to punk rock, and I'd have my headphones on, sometimes listen to Chemical Brothers in my headphones. So I was always into it somewhat. And then as I stopped being in the punk rock scene so much, I started getting more and more into the electronic. And I had a lot of instruments in my house too, just for fun. I had decks and everything, so I was DJing a little bit. And then I started a lot of my friends started becoming DJs, and I was hanging out with them. I was at shows. I was always up on stage, backstage with them, chilling out and up there, just hanging out, dancing. I'm like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not playing some tunes too? So, but just as a hobby, just for something fun. I'll come jam with my friends once in a while.
Yeah, for sure.
On some of these sets. And I started doing it. And I guess because I came from a musical background already, it all came pretty naturally to me and pretty easy.
For sure. Yeah.
To put songs together and just have an ear for it.
If you've got that background, it's 4x4.
Music theory, right? You understand the musical theory,
Yeah.
Totally get it.
So, then basically, I was doing it, and when I started getting booked for pretty good shows, thinking I didn't even have a DJ name. I was just going under my name, Danny. Who's playing? It's just Danny.
Yeah.
And and then I started getting some opportunities. Some festivals started reaching out, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta figure out if this is something I want to actually do seriously or not.
Yeah.
And so I decided I really thought about it. I'm like, okay, I've already been in the music scene, and I ended a bad experience, and I wasn't very stoked on it. Well, why wasn't I stoked? I was not stoked because I was at the mercy of other people in the band that I had to create with, and we all had to be on the same page. And if we weren't on the same page, it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
The story of many bands, even super successful bands.
The more people you involve into that, the harder it is.
Exactly.
Right?
The bigger you get, the more difficult it becomes, because the more is at stake and everything. So it occurred to me one day, wait, if I do this, the only person I have to answer to is myself. I can work as hard as I want, or I can be as lazy as I want. I can make all the decisions, and I don't have to rely on other people for it. And that was really, really appealing to me, because now I'm in control of my music career 100%, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, I came up, I'm better good at names, so I got my name dialed in, and I started doing it, but I wasn't producing music. I was just DJing other people's tracks.
Yep.
And it started going, even better once I got a little more serious about it. But then I sat back and I thought, the only way to really get where I would like to go with this, if I'm going to really dive in, I need to be putting out my own stuff.
Yeah,
I got to be writing my own music. Unless you're a scratch bastard, one of those guys.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. We've talked about on the show a few times. Nowadays, you if you want to be a name DJ, you got to produce.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right?
you've got.
Back in the day, there's some big name DJs now that back in the day they weren't producing. They just were part of the scene and they blew up.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't do that anymore. There's too many. There's 14-year-old kids writing some of the best music in the world right there in some country and wherever, and they don't even. They're just writing it on a laptop with some earbuds.
Jake Beauty Man.
Jake Beauty Man.
Shout out to Jake Beauty Man.
Shout out to Jake Man. Yeah.
Legend from England. young guy, man. Got some tracks out there early on.
England's got some
good, mate.
crazy young producers coming out of it.
Yeah, man. Right. Debut at Fabric, yeah. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. So, so when you first started producing, again, we're kind of geeks. What kind of equipment were you using? Were you straight onto just computers, or did you get hardware?
No, I mean, I have a little bit of hardware, and I do like the hardware because I like the actual physical twisting knobs and playing with stuff.
It's touchy-feely, right?
But it really comes down to, it is actually very easy. For example, someone says, well, do you play in all your beats on like a MIDI control? I'm like, I'm writing house music. Like I can write it with my mouse like super fast. If I want to do some sort of cool fill or something, but if I'm just programming to like a house beat, it's really not that difficult. I can just draw it in quickly and duplicate, you know? Because there's not much to it. But the tricky part for me was when I jumped in, I was just using in the box stuff. So at first I got Logic, and then I figured I'm teaching myself how to do this. There's not a lot of videos, tutorials on Logic, but if you type in like how to do this on Ableton, there's hundreds of videos that come up.
Ableton.
So I just said, I switched, I invested, I got Ableton, started writing on that. But the tricky part for me was I can program drums really good because I'm a drummer, but I don't know music theory. So that was a hurdle that I had to get over and educate myself on that and figure that out. And I mean, I can't go and play the piano now, but I can sit down and like
you learn chords and
I just count it out and that's there, that this note should go there. This is what I can work with here. But then I kind of educated myself on that, and I started doing that, and now I'm able to write songs. But now you come across, now I got to learn how to actually work all this stuff and mix. And I mean, that's a whole nother monster to itself, is just becoming good at mixing. And like, I still am not happy with my mix downs, you know, to this day.
Do you use someone else, or do you try and do it yourself?
Sometimes I do most of it myself, but near the end, it kind of depends on the record. I feel a lot more confident in it now, but I believe that if you're going to put out something, you know, and it's going to be out there forever, you want to make that as good as you possibly can.
For sure.
And if that means, I have no shame in hiring someone to like tweak my project. They're not writing my music for me. They're just like making it sound a little better.
Well, and the thing is, we don't know it all. Do you know what I mean? And you know, if you can give it to someone, then they may be able to teach you that as well. And
exactly, and you learn from it too, right? I say, can you send me the project back, and I'll see where I can improve on what I'm doing. So I like to, if I'm getting someone else to do a mix down, I like to say, when you're done with it, can you give it back so I can see what you've changed?
Yeah, what you actually
tweaked.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of it's minor stuff, but it's just that little bit that just when you're playing on a big PK system, it makes a difference.
Man, because a lot of sound is like lost just for iPhones. It sounds good, but then when you get in a big rig, totally different. And I mean, like also I think if it's good to take that criticism as well, because then you could, like you say, you can learn from it and know where to tweak, and then you know that for future projects, man. That's good, because we have a lot of producers watch the show as well, so that advice is going to be fantastic for
I think at first I thought, oh no, I got to do it all myself, or else I'm cheating, or like I'm not, like I'm a fake if I didn't do it from beginning to end. And some people even they do all their like I'm not gonna do my own mastering. I'll master my stuff to play it out, to try out sounds, but I'm not gonna. Mastering engineers are guys that are very, very, very highly trained on what they do.
That's like schooling.
It's a degree, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
It's a whole.
That's years and years of schooling.
Oh, 100%. And it's like a lot of those guys, they're not producers or anything. They just have the technical ear so sharp that know what to be doing. And that's just something, I mean, I like learning about it as I go, but I don't ever plan on being some like great mastering engineer. Like that's not my end goal. I want to, I want to be able to get my stuff to that point. But I think passing it off also gives someone else an outer perspective on your music, something that maybe you're not hearing that they're hearing because they're not emotionally invested in it, and they can just take a step back and go, this is not sounding right,
for sure.
And in your mind you wrote it and you're like, oh no, that sounds cool,
sounds great,
and then maybe isn't working for like what the song needs. But the one thing that really kind of inspired me in some things I've heard, I heard Will Clark say, and Will Clark's mixdowns are insane. Like I always listen to his mixdowns, like, oh man, like everything is amazing. And I heard him say, yeah, a lot of my recent mixdowns, I'm not even doing them. I get them to like 95%, and that last 5%, I pass off to someone else. And then I heard Chris Lake say the same thing. He said, I won't, if I think someone else can mix my record better than me, I'll give it to them.
Yeah, great, and it's a great confidence booster, that they're saying that as well, man.
Yeah. So it's like, I think no matter what level you're at, some people are comfortable with it, and some people aren't. I'm not. I'm comfortable to get mine to 95%, and that last 5%, I like to get some help with.
And it's like you said, it's not like they produced the track.
No, you're not really changing anything. You're just like
some shit.
Making just like that low end, that little dip in the low end that maybe needs to be notched out, or that little hi-hat that's a little, it's the frequencies are off or something.
Any art format, you got your peers and you got people that are good at certain things and people that are good at those things. And whatever you produce, maybe graffiti. You got a buddy that's good at lines or a buddy that's good at filling in. He might say, yeah, man, do this, hold it this way. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same. You learn off each other.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, man.
And like I think track feedback too is super important, because same thing, when I first started doing it, I'll send tracks out, people would give me some feedback, and suddenly like my feelings were all hurt, like, oh, I thought that was cool, and they kind of were like, this part's kind of whack in the track, and you might want to think of changing that. And I took it, you try not to, but you can't help but take it a little personally. But that now I'm at a point where I want rip it apart. I'm like tear it apart, because it just makes my song better, and it makes me a better producer.
Absolutely.
I'm exactly the same, man.
What about sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off at all there, mate, but what about when you were first releasing tracks? How was that for approaching labels, or were you approached yourself, like, when you first started releasing your electronic music? How was that as a process here in Canada for you?
When I first started, because I was like, I knew that the tracks, as I was putting on my first tracks, they probably weren't where I want them to be to get a lot of, when people started really paying attention. Yeah. So I just did self-releases. I just released on SoundCloud, give it away. Then I'm in control of the track. I can just pull it down if I want, whatever. And so I released maybe, I don't know, like 8 to 10 tracks or something on SoundCloud and had them up. Going back and listening to them now, I'm like, ugh. But when I finally, Westwood heard an EP I wrote called House Rock. That was my first one that was signed to a label. And when they decided to sign it, I thought, I'm like, okay, this is like at a level where, especially if like Westwood's gonna put it out, like it's at a level where it's decent enough that I will be, proud to put my name on it. Mm-hmm. And my other stuff to that point was more of like a learning process. So I said, this is how, now I'm going to get some eyes on me, because I'm going to be, announced that I'm on the label. This is how I want people to start their journey with what my sound is. So as soon as we announced that, I deleted all my old songs off SoundCloud. So I started fresh. So the first thing anyone ever heard from me was House Rock.
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And like listening back to that track now, I'm like, oh man, I could have done a lot more of that. But still, I don't think it's a bad track. I've improved a lot since, right? But I still am proud of that song, especially for that time. Yeah. And the other track on the EP. And so that's kind of how I did it. I practiced and putting stuff out, and I think a lot of people, they figure out how to work a DAW and put a song together, and they do it, and right away they're like trying to put it on the label. But I don't think that's a good approach. Yeah. Because once that's on a label and that's on the internet, it's there forever.
Done. Yeah.
Sure. It's there, man.
Whereas you had the opportunity to remove those.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're kind of in control of it, and it's just like a way to learn more as you go, until you get to the point where you make the mistakes in those. And so anyways, that was just my approach. I don't know, other people can do
for sure,
however they right. If you're confident in it, then go for it. But I just knew that I had work to do and stuff to learn before I wanted it out there.
Everyone's journey is different, isn't it?
Absolutely. Everyone we talk to, everyone's got similar but different journeys.
That's why we like doing this show, man, because everyone's story's different. And
how about Bass Coast for yourself? How many times have you been here to this?
I've been twice.
Yeah,
but this is my first time playing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm super. When I found out, when I like got the offer to play Bass Coast, I was just like, wow. Like I felt really out of many festivals that are out there, this is the one that I really felt like honored to be invited to play.
That's cool, man.
Because
That's awesome, man.
you know, I just the Bass Coast lineup is so
Stacked.
like it's just like very well
Structured,
curated,
right?
and very unique.
Yeah, man.
And
they put a
to
lot
be a
of
part of
thought and
that,
effort into it, right?
yeah,
they really have.
I feel like, you know, and they really like dig deep and find a lot of really incredible artists that maybe like aren't, that you wouldn't have heard of. Like when I look at the Bass Coast lineup, I don't know a lot of artists on it, which is awesome because I love coming here and not being busy every hour. Like, I'm gonna go see all these guys
for sure,
because I know them all and I like their music. It's great to have these gaps where I don't know any of the people playing, and then I go find
and
someone new, and you
go, oh man,
and you discover like a brand new artist that is amazing.
It was nice earlier on. Andrea and Liz were chatting, and basically they said how Bass Coast started, and it was from
the
that
local
kind
talent,
of the love of where they met and went to some festivals and were like, and the whole love and the community thing, and their passion, which again, hats off to Bass Coast, their passion for doing that, like you say, for structuring their lineup where it is introducing new acts, it is introducing new music. It's not just your big headliners. They're there, but there's a whole load of others to go listen. That's what they were saying.
Awesome.
Yeah, go for a walk.
Because
check it out. You're going to find something, right?
Because a lot of festivals, they pick all the big names, make the money. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but they do, right? But sometimes, like you said, sometimes you want to hear the people that, because music, you want to discover people. That's what it's all about, right?
Exactly.
And Bass Coast, I think, offers that. Like, half these names is like, I don't even know who they are. But when I go and listen to them, I'm like, mate, they're fucking banging that track. You know, that's sick.
Yeah.
And you found a new person, like, you know, and you go through their SoundCloud, you're like, mate, these are tracks that I can use in my set, and it's, you know what I mean? It's fucking sick, man. That's the good thing about it.
I'm gonna do like another equipment geek out then. So when you first started DJing, were you like straight on the CDJs, or have you ever touched turntables?
I've played on turntables. I just don't. Well, okay. When I first started, actually, I had Denon 3500s, which then those I just had at home. This is when I was just had some instruments at home. I'm like, I'm gonna buy some tables to mess around. Like buddies would come over. I didn't know what they took CDs, so I was playing off CDs. I had the CDs in the sleeve and like the whatever was written on it, you know, playing like that. And the 3500s actually were super weighted platters, so it felt like it was like a turntable.
Yeah.
They were the heavy metal ones. They even had the like slip mats on them and everything.
Yeah.
So I kind of learned like that.
Actually, But
once I started getting more serious, when I started getting serious about it, things had evolved, and they'd gone like controllers suddenly became a big thing, and I had some buddies that were kind of like a bit of mentors for me and helping me, and they were, you know, they were playing. It was actually more the mixer, but it's nice to like have a close friend or close friends that you're using a certain kind of equipment, because if you need help, you just call them up.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
So my buddy talked me into getting the Tractor Z2 mixer. So I went to Tractor and I was playing on a Tractor original.
Just a mixer and the laptop.
Yeah, right? Actually, sorry. I started on the S4, the little controller.
Yep.
And then I quickly upgraded to the mixer, and then mixer and CDJs, and then I was, you know, playing off a computer.
Yeah.
And then I realized that playing on a computer, I have a computer in my pocket that's this big.
Yeah.
If I want, and I switched to USBs, and then I switched to a 900, and now I just play, you know, the standard DJM 900 and CDJs.
Great
mixer.
Yeah.
Do you still have a setup at home?
Yeah, I do actually. I sold because I had a full setup, and it was just like I was looking at it thinking, this is a lot of money for something that I just have at home and I don't need. So I sold my CDJs, and they were getting pretty old, and I was able to sell them and buy brand new XDJ 1000s for the exact same price that I sold my old CDJs for, and with warranty and everything and all that. And like they're basically the same thing. They're just kind of stripped back, a little more. They feel a little cheaper, but still they do the same thing. They don't take CDs, which doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And they just have a few less features. But for anything at home, that's what I use. So now I just got that at home, a 900 in those. But
Yeah.
I don't DJ at home very often, to be honest.
Really?
No,
Really, eh?
not really.
Nah.
I don't know.
I guess it's almost like going home and working. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. Some people just love going home and just playing all the time on their. I think I'd rather spend that time like writing music than just jamming out tunes and.
Yeah.
Yep.
I find I go through little waves and stages. Like I like doing art and I like the music. I've got a couple of little bits of toys, but Brad and we've talked about it before, I don't do anything on it. But every now and again, even in the morning, I'll be like, before I go to work, I'll be like, I could just have like a 15-minute jam on the turntables with the headphones on. I'll have a little quick go, do 4 mixes, and off I go to work. So, I get it. I don't do it often, but I love having it there. I like having the set there.
Yeah,
so
it's nice to have it.
Right?
My girlfriend's a DJ too, and she plays on it a lot. So she'll just be, I'll be cooking dinner and she'll just fire them up and start playing. She enjoys that, and then, but I never, she practices like after sets and stuff. But I actually don't. I don't practice mixing for sets ever.
Do you pre-plan your set? This is a question we ask quite a few people.
Yeah.
Do you pre-plan your set, or do you kind of wing it and see what's going on?
Every set, I envision what I think the vibe is gonna be.
Yeah.
Right? And I found like I'm usually pretty on point. Sometimes you're a little off and you gotta change up. But I try to envision that, and based on what I think the event's gonna be like, I ask a lot of questions like, well, what kind of crowd is this? And I ask other people that have played it, maybe that event. Obviously, is this underground? Is this more like just like clubbies are gonna be more, a little more mainstream? Do I gotta play on like a little more of the more known kind of tracks, remix side, or can I just go, real weird? And I try and get a vibe for that, and then I'll put it together a playlist of, maybe from other sets and everything, but I'll just kind of like drop in a bunch of stuff that I think will work for that set.
We'll work together, yeah.
And generally I'll have, I'll have my first 3 or 4 tracks planned, and then I'll kind of see where I go from there. Sometimes you get up, my nerves are going a little, or the equipment's not working, and you can't like get in the groove and look at the vibe, get the vibe. Like digging when you're like, this chord, my headphones aren't working, or the CDJ's got a weird setting, like something's wrong. So I try to give myself, maybe like 10 minutes to just kind of get into it,
the groove,
and then just see what happens. I mean, it depends on the set. With sets like Bass Coast, Shambhala, like those, I have a plan going in from beginning to end. It's a lot of, this Bass Coast set, I've spent the entire week I've been in the studio just making edits. So just different, tracks, like layering tracks over other tracks, and adding acapellas in and doing like just little cuts in the tracks to, I don't know, just make it more interesting and fun and make it more original. But I wouldn't normally do that for like, just a regular set or a show at a club or whatever.
I think with regards to planning a track, off the back of that, do you play a lot of your own music in your sets? Or do you play a mixture? Or?
Yeah, I play...
Or just your music only?
I play... No, not my music only. I mean, I think this is a problem with a lot of artists, is you get tired of your own music. And so I want to play the new shit all the time, right? I hear this new... I'm like super stoked on this track. Oh, that's so awesome. I want to play that. So, but I try to make sure... I for a while, I got to the point where I was just not playing any of my stuff because I liked other people's stuff better. And people come up to me after the show, they're like, hey, that was a dope set, but you didn't play any of your music. Like, I came to see you, and I didn't really hear any of your tracks. And that made me think a little bit about making sure that I'm always inserting, some of my stuff in there. And, even with my set tomorrow night, I'm going to play a lot of my own stuff, but it's all new stuff. So I'm still, I'm pretty stoked on it, and no one's heard it yet.
Nice.
And I'll do a couple of tunes I've released in the past, but I'm gonna do a lot of my own. But awesome. I try and mix it in as much as I can. I'd say like 20% of my set is my own music.
That's good. I think that's a good mixture. Yeah. You're sort of playing. Yeah.
And again, what time's your set tomorrow?
I play midnight at Sleigh Bay.
Ooh, Sleigh Bay, midnight.
I've heard a lot about the Sleigh Bay stage. Apparently, it's pretty much slaying the fucking.
Oh yeah, it's
really kicking it.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm stoked.
We'll be there, buddy.
Stoked.
I'll bring my camera along. We'll get some pictures of video.
Yeah, we'll do the video stuff and we get in there. For sure.
Sick. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, man.
I was gonna say, when we were talking about practicing or whatever, like jamming, I don't do that. But what I do practice is I incorporated live drums into my set. So I have electronic drums up there, and I play them. I mix, and I'll go back and forth between the drums and mixing.
That's cool as fuck, man. Yeah.
So that's what when I'm practicing for set, that's what I'm practicing. I put my headphones on, I play the tracks, and I'm like figuring out drum kits for them, patterns at work, and inserting things into them.
That's
so
super cool.
I've definitely been working on that this week for some new stuff I'm gonna play tomorrow night. But
nice, that's super cool. We used to actually, me and my buddies, we had a little group of us. There's 5 of us, 4 boys and 1 girl, that we'd all DJ together, and we used to put on these little nights, small little nights in this club back home, and we used to bring in a guy that would play live drums, right? And we would just feed his mic into the mixer, so you could bring it in, and he was so good at freestyling that whatever track you were playing, he would just be like, okay, yeah, no problem, and you could like get him going over the top. And then we used to bring a guy in with the flute too sometimes.
Oh, that's
and I also
awesome.
brought a guy in with the trumpet as well once, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, anything like some percussion or some horns always. Yeah. Even like a guitar, someone just
something
chugging along on the guitar over top.
In 2007, when I was just about old enough to get into the clubs, I go to a house night and there'd be a guy playing the bongos. Yeah. That was like cool as fuck, man. It was like tribal stuff. It was wicked.
And again, when you're performing live, having that extra little live element just enhances everything, right?
Yeah, it just makes the show, I don't know, a little more unique and a little different. Right. And I find that even if I always joke about this, but I say, if I just turn my drums completely off but still went up and played them, I bet half the people would not even notice. They'd just be like, see, because it's a visual thing, right?
Sure.
I find and that sometimes when DJ's up there, you're just standing there the whole time, and some people don't, and they don't like. I feel like I get into my sets quite a bit, and I'm moving around a lot. But like some people, when they DJ, and nothing against this, just not for me, is they're just stand there. And they don't really move, and they don't really get into their own music even, and they just mix.
They just mix.
Well, that after an hour and a half.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's not super entertaining in my opinion, but I come from a band background though, so like that's.
I don't know how you can do it without dancing. Like, whenever I'm borderline bouncing around. Yeah. Like I'm into it. I remember we've talked about this before. Carl Cox was famous for, like he said, he's like, when I DJ, really, I just want to be there on the dance floor with you. Yeah. So I'm fucking into this. Like I'm rocking, man. Like I'm getting into it because really, I want to be there because that's the best place to be, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And again, when you play like that and perform like that, it emanates across everyone.
Yeah, the energy,
you know what I mean? Like the energy,
resonates out in the crowd.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah,
I find that 100%.
100%, man. Like I think, like I say, we're not really like going there to watch a DJ do that, but if you see them and they're stiff, like you're saying, and they don't, you're kind of like, okay, this is cool.
But you're like, are you into this?
Yeah, you know? Into this?
Or are you just here to collect a paycheck?
Yes.
Do you like what you're doing right now? Are you wanting to be here? And
absolutely.
I mean, if you ever watched any artist, a band, or, I watched, I remember watching Lauryn Hill one time, and it was so obvious that she did, I've heard a lot of stories about her doing this often, but it was so obvious that she did not want to be at this show and be on that stage that it was like almost awkward for everyone watching. It made you feel like, I don't think I want to be here either.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I had it again. It's almost like what's the saying? You don't want to meet someone famous that you love or whatever. One of your idols. One of the DJs back in England. I'm not going to say his name. He's actually got an MBE. Like he's up there. He was I was so stoked to go and see him, and when I stood there and watched, I was I almost wanted to cry. Honestly, when I left, I was like, oh man, like he didn't want to be there. Like he made it fucking obvious. Like he really wasn't into it. Yeah. It looked like he wasn't enjoying it. Yeah, the music he played was amazing, his mixing and his set was amazing, but he just was not into it, and it totally like changed the whole vibe of the room, man. Everyone could tell.
It does, yeah. It rubs off,
everyone could tell.
It rubs off for sure, man.
And again, he's a massive big name, man. He's got an MBE. Fuck me.
Crazy, man.
Do you ever? Sometimes I'll be standing out in the crowd, and I'll look around. We'll be, you're out there, and there's 3,000-4,000 people in the crowd, and you're staring, and there's this guy standing up there, just twisting knobs. And I think to myself, isn't that crazy that we're all just standing here, watching a guy stand up there, twist some knobs?
Man.
Like, you know what I mean? And
it is.
I do it too. I can sit and watch a DJ forever. Like, if he's putting out a vibe and whatever, he's grooving. And I ask myself, like, that's insane to think about, that we find that so entertaining.
It's mad, isn't it? And again, like, I always, back in the day, man, there wasn't any YouTube, right? There wasn't any of this. There wasn't any, like, internet. Okay, internet was there, but it was early freaking days. You had to go and watch. What's he doing, man? How's he doing that? And that was like, we'd all stand around the front. All the geeks, you'd be like, okay, man, I wasn't really looking at
the booth,
okay. I could have stood there fucking all day long, every day watching that, right? Like, it's entertaining, but I get what you're saying. And actually, it's funny, I had someone back in the day, they were a bit older than us, and they went to one of the early raves, because I was part of, like, well, not part of, but I was lucky enough to go to some of the early stuff in England, like very late 80s, early 90s and things. And one of the guys, he was an old hippie, he was a bit older than us, and we took him to an illegal rave, and he was like, there's something really weird about this. Just a whole load of people looking at one person playing music with all these lights. He's like, I don't know, man, is this some kind of devil stuff? And I was like, no, man, it's just like music and some lights, bro. And he's like, no, it's weird, like everyone's just looking forward. And I was like, wow.
So, like, moving forward with the DJing and like talking about people being stiff, what kind of dancing DJ are you?
Okay, so I always tell people, this isn't true. I mean, it's true that I'm a horrible dancer, but I tell people, I'm like, I say, hold on, let me back up. I say, the reason I got into DJing is because then people can't see how bad I am at dancing. Because I just stand up there and go like, but if I'm actually on the dance floor and I gotta actually move my arms and legs a bunch more, people will look and go, how are you that bad at dancing when you play a percussion instrument?
You don't want the DJ booth where it's just a table, though, so they can see your legs still. You want the DJ booth blocked off, right? So it is just your top bit.
Well, Rumpus, thanks for coming on the show, mate.
Yeah, mate. Actually, before we go, sorry, man, just quickly before we cut it off, what about future things? What have you got going on?
Future
plans? Like, you got stuff coming out that you want to talk about and promote?
I got a lot of releases coming up over the next 6 months. Some collabs, some of my own stuff. I got some stuff coming out on. I got a track coming on Hood Politics. I got one on Wildcard. That's Vanilla Ace's label. Some more stuff on Westwood, and a couple other labels that are pretty sweet that I can't announce yet, but I'm super stoked about.
Cool. And that's all coming out soonish. Next.
I got music basically coming out probably every month for the next 6 months. I got a track, so I'm trying to release this year. My goal was to do roughly 12 tracks and release 12 tracks in a year, and I think I'm going to be on point. Oh, and my last tune I did with Nicky Genesis called You Better. It's just got like a really powerful remix pack that's coming out, and from some really awesome producers that I look up to a lot. And so that's gonna be dropping too. I got a few SoundCloud giveaways. I'm gonna do some bootlegs I did as well. I'm just trying to be as consistent as I can with putting out tunes.
Getting that content.
So I'm shooting for 12 this year. If I make 10, I'll be happy with that. But
right on, man.
I just want to be consistent.
I'm looking forward to listening to some of it, man.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
Right on, buddy.
I think the stuff that's coming out is definitely my best music to date, which a lot of people probably say every time they have a new track coming out. But I do feel like it's leveling up a bit.
You're on the way. Yeah, that's good, man.
Nice, man. Again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me. This is awesome, and it's just like it's just good timing. Bass Coast, like the vibe is just set.
It's a chill setting. It's coming.
So again, thank you very much for coming on. Can't wait to see your new releases, listen to some of that stuff, and hopefully we see you again soon.
Yes, thank you very much. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
bro. Thanks, brother.
Yeah,
that's one, man.
Take care. Cool. Thank you very much, man. That was awesome.
Thank you. No problem.